no idea what the fuck I'm gonna call this video because there's so many things that I may or may not talk about, but that have been going on for these past few days, maybe almost about a week, apart from the stuff that I never even finished updating y'all that I'm in the middle of recording in the midst of everything that's been happening. So major changes in my life, amidst transitions happening in my life, so like expected transitions and then like unexpected changes, not because of those, or maybe not related to those transitions. Here I go again. Okay, so I am right now documenting what I think is kind of like gonna end up being a series, because I'm probably gonna have enough footage to create it into multiple videos, because I talk a lot, but it's also covering a span of 6 weeks. It is a phase that I'm going through in my life, and I wanted to document it for everyone to see, because that's what I'm doing right now with this YouTube thing. Got my tea, which is just really basic lemon and ginger, but tea is another topic of some updates that I need to talk about. Oh my gosh, I feel like I haven't been in front of a camera in a long time. So last full moon, I had plans to commune with the Witches Council. This was part of a project I decided to take on, and if you want to know more about that, I encourage you to visit Jazmine Ambrosio's channel. She'll talk more about what that project is. It's a community project, if you guys are interested in doing. So I had that set out to be done that day, but I did not foresee all the things that were going to happen within the 24 hours or so before that. Sister and I were, just in case you guys don't know, we're currently working on building our own business. We already have an LLC for it. We've been working on this for a really long time, and the reason it's taken this long to even come forth is because it required so much research on our part, and we're building it from the ground up, and we also changed our minds a cajillion times over a cajillion things, and that's just the way it works when you have a brain like mine and a brain like hers, and we're working together. But anyways, we were getting a little burnt out from the work, so we thought we really need to touch grass. We need to go outside, we need to go on a nature walk. And it was not lost on us that we hadn't taken my pet Rocky. He's a little husky. Well, he's not little, but we had not taken him out on a walk in a while. So we're like, okay, we can take him with us wherever we decide to go. And for some reason, we didn't end up going anywhere really locally. We ended up going kind of towards the mountains. So it was a bit of a drive, but we took him with us. And when we got to the place, to the destination, he was perfectly normal. But when we started to do our like little hike or whatever, we saw him struggling a bit with like terrain that he would not have struggled with had he been like normal. And this was odd to us. He also just like got tired rather quickly. So we decided to just take him back, because why are we going to torture our animal? And when we had almost gotten back into town, like right on the edge of town actually, he ended up throwing up, and he threw up nothing but bile. So at this point we're concerned, and we actually had a vet appointment for our cat to do like an annual checkup, and we tried to swap it to get him looked at because we didn't know what was happening with him. They couldn't do it, and we took him to the animal hospital in another city, and we definitely did not think, like, overnight he got significantly worse. Like, he still looked pretty normal that day, and then overnight, Thursday, when we woke up to take him, he was really fatigued, and he still didn't want to eat. Like, we tried to give him food and he wasn't eating it. He was drinking a lot of water though. So yeah, we ended up getting some blood work done to see if there was something that could be done immediately. Long story short, we got a vet telling us that he needed to stay overnight for the next 3 days, that his kidneys were in a very bad place, they're in bad condition, and it was gonna cost us over $4,000 for him to stay that many days, or that many nights, I should say, entire days and nights away from us, but also so he could get the medical attention he needed. This sent me and my sister like into like this panic / shock, because we don't have that money just sitting around anywhere. A lot of our credit cards are like not gonna be able to take that hit either. So we saw ourselves in a situation of like, if he's in a really bad condition, he needs immediate help, he needs that, but how are we gonna make this happen? And like the way that our brains work, or at least the way that my brain works, is just solution searching. Like, what can we do? What can be done? Who do we need to talk to? Who needs to be asked what? Like, what are the resources that we need to hit up to find out what needs to happen? And after we tried a few resources, we kept on finding ourselves in the same situation. And then we get a call, because at this point he's inside and they're waiting to hear from us, like, what are we going to do? What is going to be our method of payment, or how are we going to do this? And that 4,000 plus was apart from what we owed, because we took him in to get those initial tests done, right? So this nurse calls my sister, and we're telling her, like, we're not sure what we're going to do yet. We really have no idea. And then I tell my sister, I was like, what if we can't do anything? Like, what if there's no way for us to even get anybody to help us with that money? Like, do we have another option? Because we hadn't asked that. Like, it didn't occur to us to ask that. Of course, like, we're not thinking straight, right? Like, we're just worried about our puppy. Well, he's not a puppy, but you know, he's always your puppy. He's about 10 years old. But so at that point she tells us, well, you can actually take these, you know, this treatment, which would be like a couple different medications and some IVs. You can take, and some food as well. You can administer that at home, and you would just be buying that supplies. So it would come down to about $1,000. That was such a huge relief, because we could actually do that. So that relief, like, we were very thankful that, you know, that came through. However it came through, I don't know. I'm just glad that we asked, okay, what if we don't, you know, what if we can't make that $4,000 happen, lady? Like, what do we do? So we ended up doing that. They gave us all his medications, the IV bags, the food. They told us, and they showed us exactly how to administer the IV, and they went over the medications and everything. So he seemed to be like okay, but when we brought him home after a few hours, it's kind of like everything started taking a toll on him. And things just got significantly worse, to the point where me and my sister feared that he just wasn't going to make it through the night. Luckily he did. I think the whole entire day of Thursday was spent in and out of the animal hospital trying to figure out payment, and then dealing with him basically, and coming back home, worrying about him, thinking about how we're going to break the news to my parents, because we didn't want to tell them like everything, because we didn't want them to worry, but then we had to tell them something, because obviously something is up. My mom, she gets really heartbroken with the animals, and we kind of wanted her to like have more positive outlook of things, for obvious reasons. And this all happened on the day of the full moon, right? So like my sister, she took it I think a lot harder than I did, and it was just a really, really rough day for her. It was, well, more than one day, but like since we're focusing on that day, in the back of my mind, it was like, what magics am I going to do to help with this? And then before I could get to that, like, I had to assess, like, what is feasible and what makes sense. And also really sitting with the knowledge, the knowing that we all have as humans, that death is not something you escape. Everyone, every living being is going to die. So asking for like him to stay alive didn't seem right. And I also didn't think right to ask for death. I thought that the best way to go about it was to accept death. Ultimately, the only thing that I wanted, and after like sitting with it, I was okay with, was to be able to provide the most loving and hopefully peaceful transition possible, if that's what was going to happen, whether it was that day, the following days, or in the future. And that's what gave me peace. And then I was like, okay, like, what are the other things that I was gonna do? Because a witch is a witch is a witch, right? So I was like, okay, for sure. And man, it's crazy, like the way that things come into your mind. I had been thinking for days prior to this happening, or even thinking that something like this was gonna happen, that I needed to do like an egg limpia, an egg cleanse. And I'm not sure why. Like, call it intuition, call it a sign, I don't know, call it whisper of the deity, the dark mother. But I kept procrastinating because I didn't have charged/blessed water, which is for me a requirement in order to do the egg cleanse. And it's crazy how I procrastinated that the days prior. That day, with all that going on, all that emotional like turmoil happening between myself, my friend, pet, my buddy, and my family, it was like, well, we're gonna make that charged water right now. It's the full moon, like, what more can you ask for? And we're also going to commune with the Witches Council, because that's what we do. And I'm not gonna try to sit here and act like I didn't cry. Like, I definitely cried. But I think I cried more for the memory of when his mom died, because he's from a litter of one of my previous huskies. She didn't live long. I think that also makes it more sad, because I know that he's lived a lot longer than she did. He surpassed her by like 3, almost 4 times her age. So that also is something that makes me feel a little bit better, although I don't know if that's even the right way to put that. He's doing better now. However, there is some blood test results that we are waiting on that are supposed to come in about a week later because of the type of blood test they are. Tomorrow is the week. It marks the week, like exactly a week that we took him. I just know that whatever it is, we're going to get through it. And I don't know why my camera keeps doing this. Like, I have a light right here in front of me. It's not a ring light, but it's a light, and it's not moving, so I don't know why. I don't know if it's like me. I cleansed my space, and so that's something that I felt like I desperately needed to do. I didn't really feel like doing much for, like, after I did all those things Thursday for the full moon, like the days that followed, I didn't feel like doing anything. Like, I was in full-on, like, depressed mode. There was an entire day where I just sat down and watched shit on my phone, and me and my sister alternated, like, we slept next to our dog. Today was probably one of the first days where I actually felt like I was doing something. I just created another batch of blessed or charged water. I was thinking of doing a video on that, but I don't know, we'll see. But I had to do that because I finished my last batch due to the egg cleanses and other things that I was using that water for, so I needed to go ahead and create this new batch. I did that a little while ago. And I'm going to use that to do another series of egg cleanses on all three of us again. Oh, and then before I forget, my friend, she is someone who practices Reiki, and she was also sending Reiki to maybe somebody or someone is interested in doing like magic on your pets. I don't know. I have a deck specifically for that. And I did a reading on him before I did the cleanse, and then I did another reading on him today. It looks a lot better today, which makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. I was thinking of like inserting a clip of like doing the egg cleanse on him, but I feel like I just need all my focus and attention to be on the thing that I'm doing instead of worrying about recording it right now. But I could definitely demonstrate it later if that's something somebody wants to see. But I think it's also pretty self-explanatory, but I don't know. You guys let me know. There's just been so much going on. I feel like I'm missing so many things, but it's not all bad, I promise. It's just a lot heavier. And it's really making me ask myself, what can I learn from this? And I know that it's not fair to ask yourself or have somebody who's going through, you know, death, whether it be physical or in another way, to like, you know, ask them, well, what is this teaching you? But it's nice when you're able to reach that place by yourself. I wanted to interject here and say that this is not the first thoughts that I had. After I did the magics on Thursday and slept some, the following 2 to 3 days were spent in sadness and emotions of, you know, the grief variety. And it's completely normal to feel this about your pet even as they're aging. It's like you have this anticipatory grief because you know that their time with you is becoming more and more limited. So even if your pet is not going through a health scare at the moment, it is completely normal to have moments and times or days where you're sad and you cry and you hug them just a little bit tighter. I only came to that thought of what is this teaching me after I had purged a lot of that anticipatory grief, because we were held in suspension. We still are held in suspension, even though he's doing much better, because of those other blood tests we haven't received. So I just wanted to come here real quick and share that. I feel like I'm going through some type of a test, an initiation. I don't really want to go into too many details with this, but there's just so many, what I would call synchronicities that align with the vein of what I'm talking about. But I also don't want to make it seem like, oh, if you choose to work with specific energies, you're gonna be punished. But I think you definitely call into your space specific energies that lend themselves to certain things. Oh yeah, that was crystal clear, wasn't it? So I know that I said that we didn't foresee this happening. Definitely not any of the details. But it wasn't until like, I think it was 3 or 4 days after everything went down on Thursday. I was on the way to the gym with my partner. Yeah, I figured it would be good for me to get out of the house and get my mind a little bit room to breathe and be okay with leaving the house, because up until that point I was not, due to my baby situation, my little fur baby situation. So we're on the way to the gym, and I have a program that I actually follow. So I write my own fitness programs, and I write my own exercises, sets, reps, etc. And I track everything. So when I'm at the gym, I have my digital, well, the application's called OneNote. If you're into like the Windows suite, you know what I'm talking about. But I have a specific section where I have like my program outlined, and then I create like a table, and then I'll have my entire program, and then in here I'll have like a blank column where I'll write in my weights, how many reps I did, how it felt, my rest periods, etc. I know that may seem excessive to some people, but I've been doing this for a really long time. This is the only way that I like to do it. Anyways, I was trying to open my OneNote so I could see what workout I was going to do that day. And the most recent ones show up at the top, the most recent pages you've opened in that notebook. Now, within OneNote is a bunch of other digital journals that I have, including my dream journal. It's just a lot easier after you wake up to do voice to text and have it write on its own than do the writing thing, especially because this is so much faster than my hand that I get a little frustrated with the speed at which I write compared to the speed at which I think, and I feel like I'm gonna miss or forget something, or it's gonna slip away before I can catch it. My most recent dream that I had recorded had been Tuesday night to Wednesday morning. So pretty much the day before everything happened on Thursday with my puppy. And I forgot that I had that dream. So I clicked on it just because I thought it was really interesting that my aunt / godmother, because I was baptized in the Catholic Church, she was my godmother. She was in my dream. She's never in my dreams. I don't dream her. I usually don't dream my family like that. She was in my dream, and I was reading that entry, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, because she was warning me in the dream, and she was telling me that shit was about to go down. Like she literally said, shit's about to go down tomorrow. It was in regards to a death, or like something as heavy as a death was going to happen. And it felt family related. So maybe it's a coincidence, maybe it's not, but I just wanted to share that because I just thought that was weird as fuck. That I had that dream where she was warning me that the next day some shit was about to go down, and it had to do with some type of heavy shit, and then this happens. Yeah, thanks for coming to my little chatty, witchy, ranty, who knows what the fuck